So morning once again, folks. We'll be looking again at our Lotus, our half Lotus poses in this sequence. So would be helpful to have some blocks to hand if you have them available. A couple of the regular blocks, a brick or two, whatever you've got to hand. If you don't have anything to hand, don't worry, there are the options in the sequences, as you know by now. So grab whatever props you do have. And the other thing I should say is if you don't have regular yoga bricks, cushions can help as well for this sequence. Anyway, once you've gathered your props, let's come down onto our backs and we'll begin practice from there. So as always, just take a few moments here to settle the body, to let the body find a position that feels comfortable. And connecting to that experience of the body from the inside to the outside. So just aware of all the sensations that are felt within the body, becoming a little more attuned to that inner environment. And once you've found that connection, expanding your awareness and become aware also of the edges of the body, the surface of the skin. Aware of where that boundary between the body and the space around you feels clear, feels very clearly delineated, and perhaps in other areas it's less clear. A sense of almost merging into the space around the body. And feeling into the rhythm of your breath. Again, connecting to those sensations of breath within the body. Feeling the breath travel through the nostrils, down into the abdomen. Aware of the smooth transition from the in-breath to the out-breath. And then following that journey of the release of breath. Settling into that rhythmic, natural flow. As we move through practice this morning, the invitation is to stay connected to that inner experience of practice, to the inner environment of the body. Really dropping awareness down into sensation. And then to transition into our movement practice, we'll begin by bringing the knees in towards the body, in towards the chest, taking a hug around the knees or the shins. As always, you might want to take just a little rock from one side of the body to the other, massaging down through the lower back. And then as you come back to center, let's bring the hands onto the knees if they're not already, and begin to circle the knees around in space. So you can take these movements at your own rhythm, but let's try to ensure that they're generous circles that we're taking here. So we're taking these movements all the way down into the hips. And then we'll switch out that direction, moving around in the opposite way. Okay, the next time we bring the knees in towards the body, let's release the feet down onto the floor. We'll keep the left foot grounded as we cross the right shin over the left thigh. Right foot is active as always, so drawing the top of the foot back towards the shin. Ankle just clear of the left thigh, and then we'll roll that right knee forwards, roll the right knee into center. Do that a couple more times. So again, just beginning to take a little movement down into the hip. And then next time you roll the right knee forwards, we'll hold there and pick up the left foot. Now you can either keep the hands grounded or use those hands around the back of the leg or the front of the left shin. And as we draw the left thigh in, continue to roll the right knee away from the body, away from the face. And at the same time, we want to start to create a little bit of pressure of the right shin against the left thigh. So very gentle at first, but we'll gradually build that pressure. And then we release the left foot down to the floor, right foot can follow. Let's switch out the legs from there. So left shin crosses right thigh. Again, begin by rolling the left knee forwards, rolling the left knee in, just twice more. And then as we did first side, we'll draw the left knee forwards, hold there, and pick up that right leg. Use the hands if the hands are helpful. As the right thigh draws a little closer into the belly, the left knee rotates away. And we begin to create that pressure of the shin or the lower ankle against the right thigh. And then this time, when we release the feet down onto the floor, take just a breath there. Notice how the hips are feeling. And then we'll roll to one side. And from our side, let's come up to a cross-legged position. So I'm going to mirror you here. And you might want to use one of your props or your block or your cushion underneath the sit bones. Let's take the right shin in front of the left shin. Regular cross-legged seat. And we'll begin with the fingertips down, sitting upright in your pose. And then from here, just start to lean over to the right knee. Down through center, over to the left, and up from there. And we'll do that a few more times, just beginning to, again, take a little bit of movement down into the hips. And as we continue with these movements, we're going to introduce the right arm. So sweep the right arm out in front of the body, all the way up to the sky. We'll do that twice more. So really reaching away with that right arm all the way up. One last time. And this time, as we bring that right arm alongside the right ear, we're going to hold our side stretch. So reaching over to the opposite side, you can play with the position of the left hand as works best for you. Let's keep the right sit bone connecting down into the surface beneath you. So we're not kind of tipping over here. We're really working that length through that side of the body. And then from our side stretch, we're going to move around into a twist. So all the way up, let's take a twist, left hand to right knee, sit tall, and then just explore that rotation around through the upper body from there. We maintain just a little hint of an arch in the lower back. And then as you return to center, we'll just sweep around for a few breaths in forward fold. Okay, let's draw our way up and switch out the cross of the legs. So left shin in front. Again, we'll begin with the fingertips resting to the floor, sitting tall, leaning to the left knee, rolling through center and over to the right. Just again, drop awareness down into the body. Feel into those movements. We begin to sweep the left arm out, around in front of the body, all the way up. We'll do that twice more. Generous circles. And as we did first side, we'll hold that side stretch position. So sweeping the top arm over, connecting down through the left sit bone. And breathing into the space we're creating across that top side of the rib cage. Okay, let's find our way around into the twist from there. Right hand, left knee. We sit tall, stay broad across the collarbones. Ease your way around into the twist. And then from the twist, just a couple of breaths in the forward fold position. So finding a way around to center, drawing forwards, and then just take a couple of breaths there. Okay, from our forward fold, let's find our way up, come around to all fours. And once you set your all fours position, hands under shoulders, knees under hips, we'll come into our cat stretch and then just take a couple of rounds moving through cat-cow. So rolling the pelvis forwards through the lower back, the middle back, the upper back, a little pull back on the palms. And then from there, tailbone rolls to knees. And again, move up through the length of the spine. Just a couple more rounds, beginning to take a little movement into the pelvis, into the spine. And then returning to a neutral all fours position from there. So more or less neutral spine, little tone in the belly. As we press down through the hands, we're going to bring the right knee in towards the chest. Lift the right knee out to the side, pelvis level, outer ankle lifted, draw the right knee back, roll the right knee down, and bring the right knee into the belly. We reverse from there, lifting the heel and the knee, rotating out. Right knee draws forwards, back through center. Right knee sets down onto the floor. Let's switch to left side. So same thing, left side. We bring the left knee in, lift the left knee out to the side, draw back, roll down, and then squeeze in from there. Opposite direction. Heel lifts, knee lifts, we roll out, we draw forwards, back through center, and then left knee sets down onto the floor from there. We'll take one more practice from all fours. This time we're going to step the right foot out to the side, so toes slightly diagonal, and I'm drawing my right knee back rather than it rolling down towards the floor. So right knee draws back, and then from there we'll just shift the weight forwards and back a few times. Towards the left heel, drawing forwards again, and then back. All the while we draw that right knee to the space behind us. And then one more time, shift back and hold that end position. Okay, coming up from there, we'll switch around to the left side. So stepping the left foot out, knee drawing back, and we shift the weight forwards and back again. And then last time, we hold that position just as we did right side. Let's find our way back to all fours. And once we've done so, take a tuck of the toes. Let's find down dog, drawing hips back, lifting hips up, and taking a few moments here just to feel our way into our downward dog. Moving the body around. Again, really using the wisdom of the body, the intuition of the body, feeling from inside and moving the body in the way that the body feels it wants to be moved. And then settling those movements in downward dog, and just take a few movements in and out of plank. Lift the heels, roll forwards to plank, bend the knees, roll back into downward facing dog. So a nice fluid, smooth movement forwards and back. And then the next time you find your way into downward dog, from there, we're going to bring the feet all the way forwards to the hands. So take a standing fold position, front edge of the mat. As many steps as that takes forward. Soft knees to begin with. So find that sense of release, of support over the thighs. Let the head be heavy. Okay, and if you want to take any little movements here, feel how the body wants to move. And as we hold for a few more moments, we'll gradually work a little more length through the backs of the legs. So gradually extending the knees. And then from your standing fold, let's come all the way up to mountain pose. So roll up or reach arms to the sky and come into your mountain pose from there. Just a breath to refocus, find that connection of feet and floor. We're going to move through a round of sun salutation A. So arms reach up towards the sky, soft knees will pull back on the feet, fold down. And from the fold, plant the hands as you bend the knees, step back to plank. Again, you might roll from plank to down dog, or you can move through a vinyasa, knees down cobra or chaturanga up dog. If you're taking chaturanga up dog, strong thighs, strong belly. Keep the knees lifted through your transitions. Okay. And we'll take another 3-4 rounds of breath here. From your downward dog, let's bring the feet forwards again. So return to your standing fold. And from your fold, finding your way up once again. Arms sweep to the sky, palms connect, draw down through center. Let's keep moving with the breath. So one more round through sun salutation. We'll meet back in your downward facing dog. So again, move at your own rhythm. Stay connected to the experience of moving the body as we transition from pose to pose. And then this time from our downward facing dog, let's pick up the right foot, stretch back with the heel if you have the space. And then from there, we're going to step the right foot all the way forwards between the hands. So take your step forwards. Once the foot is planted, walk the left knee back just a little bit. So it's a long stance And we're going to turn the right toes out to the top corner of the mat. Let's pick up the toes so the ankle is strong and active, right arm inside the leg, and then we'll roll to the outer edge of the foot. So the big toe knuckle is lifted, but the ankle stays in a neutral position. And then from there, we'll just start to shift the weight forwards and back, shifting the hips back, shifting the hips forwards. And as we do so, again, drop your awareness down into the body, particularly the right hip. And there will be a point at which you feel that the pose is working best for you, that you're getting most out of it. For me, it's somewhere around here. So I'm going to hold here. I'll keep my left hand grounded, bring the right hand around to the back of the pelvis, bring a little bit of a twist into the pose. Okay, let's return. So take the right hand down to the floor, move back to your downward dog, any which way you choose. You can simply step back or again through plank, through a vinyasa. And then we'll take that pose to the second side. So left leg lifts, reach back, and step the left foot all the way forwards between the hands. Again, make sure the pose is long, so walk or slide the right knee back. We'll turn the left toes to the top corner, lift the toes, roll to the outer edge of the foot. So once we've got that strong, active ankle, we can shift the weight forwards and back from there. And again, find that sweet spot in the pose for you. Pause there, keep the right hand down this time, left hand around to the back of the pelvis, and take that twist variation. And once again, from here, we're going to take that journey back into our downward dog, or if you prefer, you can come into your child's pose instead, bringing the knees down, either sit to the heels or rest the forehead against the floor. We'll take a few rounds of breath there. So if you're not already, just beginning to make a transition up into your down dog again. And from your downward dog, bringing the feet to the hands for your standing fold. And from the standing fold up, we come once again. Arms reach tall. Move down through center. Let's take one round of breath, mountain pose. Again, an opportunity just to refocus. And then we'll take one last round of sun salutation from there. So arms sweep forwards or sweep wide all the way up, down into the fold. And again, take your journey at your own rhythm back into downward facing dog. So once again, from downward dog, let's pick up the right leg. Step that right foot all the way forwards between the hands. And this time, once the right foot is grounded, we'll keep the left knee away from the floor. Let's spin the left heel down onto the mat. We're going to come up into warrior two position. So arms open wide. And take a moment just to adjust the position of the feet, the distance of the feet. We want those left toes turned a little bit around to the top corner. And then right knee bends as deeply as feels comfortable for you. It can be over the ankle, forwards of the ankle, arms stretching wide, and the torso maintaining more or less a neutral upright position. Hold that warrior two. That's it. And then from your warrior two position, we're going to move to side angle pose. So we can reach the right arm a little further forwards, elbow onto the thigh. Today we'll reach the left arm directly up, Right elbow can stay here, pressing down into the thigh, or bring the back of the hand to that inner right shin. And from side angle, let's start to move back through warrior two. Left arm reaches back, draw your way up, and then from warrior two, we'll plant those hands and we'll move back into downward dog again, however you wish to make that transition. Okay, let's take those poses second side. Left leg lifts, left foot steps all the way forwards between the hands. And once the left foot is grounded, we'll take that right heel down onto the mat and we'll come around into that warrior two position second side. Again, adjust the feet. Gets a little bit of squeeze of the right heel forwards, the left heel towards the midline of the mat. And then again, arms are reaching, left knee bending forwards. And we're maintaining the connection through the inner edge of the right foot. From warrior two into side angle pose, we reach forwards, hinging at the hip, left elbow to thigh, right arm stretching to the sky. Again, you can stay here or you can take that variation, back of left hand to inner shin. Let's begin to make that transition back. So right arm stretching back, left arm stretching forwards, and then from there, we plant both hands and we move to down dog again, or your child's pose if that's your preferred option. Again, we're going to hold for 5 or so rounds of breath. So easing into the pose that works best for you right now. And once more, let's bring the feet forwards. Take your standing fold. And from your fold, let's come all the way up once again. So returning to your mountain pose. Again, once you find your mountain pose, we'll pause, we'll recenter, reconnect to the breath. And then this time from our mountain pose, we're going to take a big step out to the side. So stepping wide, we'll begin with the toes turned away from your midline. So about 10 o'clock, 2 o'clock, hands around to the backs of the thighs. So we create that pressure thighs against palms as we bend the knees. Just as we did with warrior two, take the depth of bend in the knees that works for you. And then from there, you can bring the hands to wherever you like best, onto the thighs, together at the chest. And we'll hold this position for a little while. So maybe even dropping the eyes closed to bring awareness down into the body again. Noting how sensations land in the body, how they shift and change, how the mind responds or reacts to those sensations. And then from your horse stance, let's start to lengthen the legs again. Find your way up, turn those feet around to neutral, hands onto hips as we find wide leg fold. So soft knees as we hinge forwards at the hips. Hands can come to floor or onto some props and releasing into that wide fold position, holding there. And from our wide-legged fold, with the hands still grounded, we'll lift the chest. Let's spin the right toes around towards the top edge of the mat. Hands can walk around to follow. And then we'll reach the right foot all the way back behind us from there. So reaching back into that split dog. And as you step the right foot forwards again, let's step it outside the line of the right hand. So big step forwards, as many steps as that takes, outside the little finger edge of the hand. Bring the left knee down onto the floor. Now, as always with this pose, we can stay up on the hands. We can come down to the forearms, or we can use some propping, pillows, blocks, whatever we have to hand, just to bring a little bit of support underneath those forearms. So we're bringing the floor to the arms, so to speak. In this version of the pose, we want the big toe knuckle to stay grounded. And really, it's a personal preference whether you keep the back knee down or lifted today. The focus as we take this pose today is into the right hip. Last few breaths here, just a little squeeze of the right foot and the back leg together. And then if you're not already, we'll come up onto the palms. Any blocks can come over to one side. Let's sweep that right leg back again and then step into your downward dog. We'll hold down dog for a breath or two. Okay, so from our downward dog, we're going to set up for our pigeon pose right side. If for any reason you don't want to take pigeon, then return to thread the needle on the back, right shin over left thigh. Otherwise, as we set up our pigeon pose, we're going to bring the right knee to the right edge of the mat, so just outside the line of the right wrist. We want the knee to be fully closed, and as we bring the left knee down to the floor and just walk the leg back in space, the right shin is diagonal to the mat here, so it's not pointing directly back, but it's not parallel to the top edge of the mat either. We're going to keep some active pressure down through that right leg. So there's a little distance between my right hip and the floor, that's fine. Up onto the fingertips, pull back, and then just feel as you're leading with the chest as we draw forwards. You can stay up on the fingertips or down on the forearms, but try to avoid that sense of collapse into the pose where we're rounding the spine and collapsing the chest. And as we hold our pigeon pose, we're going to keep that little bit of active pressure down through the right leg, through the top of the right foot as well. What we're not doing is slumping, so we're not dropping the right hip all the way down to the floor, the right sit bone all the way to the floor, and kind of flumping into that pigeon pose. This is a slightly more active expression of the posture. Okay, let's come up onto the hands and then once again move to down dog, however which way you choose from there. A step back if you want to continue moving through some vinyasas, feel free to do that too. So we just touch back into that downward dog. And then from there, we bring the feet forwards, take the fold, and from the fold up, we come once again to your mountain posture. From mountain pose, a breath to center. And then we'll take that sequence through the second side. We begin once again by stepping out wide, setting up for our horse stance. So toes turn out, knees drawing back. You can use the hands again as feedback. And as we squeeze the feet together, we take that bend into the knees. You might explore the level of bend in the knees. So you might work a little deeper down into the pose. If that feels too much, we can always come further up. And as we've discussed a couple of times this week, another thing just to be conscious of is to not lean forwards into the pose and to try and work the pelvis to more or less a neutral position rather than rolling forwards and arching through the back. So it's almost as if we're rolling the front rim of the pelvis slightly up towards the belly button and the base of the spine. The tailbone is drawing down towards the earth. Okay, just a last few breaths here. And then once again, we'll begin to move up out of the horse stance. Once we've done so, spin the feet around to neutral, hands onto hips. We'll return to wide leg fold. If you want to take any variation of wide leg fold, feel free to do so. Hands to floor, hips, ankles, behind the back. Whatever you like best, whatever you have space for. And if they're not already, let's bring those hands down onto the floor. Again, from there, we'll lift the chest. This time we're spinning the left toes around to the top of the mat. Walk the hands around to follow. Once you're in your lunge, we'll sweep the left leg back behind you, so split dog position. And then from there, we step the left foot all the way forwards, outside of the little finger edge of the hand. Right knee comes down onto the floor. We're going to hold here, so either up on the palms, down on the forearms, or again, you can use your props. Can we feel that connection of left big toe knuckle on the earth? Can we feel that little pull, that little squeeze of the legs together? And let's find our way back to downward dog again. So come up onto the palms, step or vinyasa back. We'll hold down dog just for a breath or two. And then let's find our left leg pigeon pose from there. Again, option to come into thread the needle instead. Otherwise, we bring the knee to the floor outside the outer edge of that left wrist. Knee is fully closed, shin is diagonal as I walk the right knee back in space. Keep that little pressure down through the leg, that little bit of space between hip bone, sit bone and floor, up onto the fingertips. We lead with the chest as we take up a forward fold from there. So again, what can be felt from within the body here? Perhaps there are quite strong sensations around the left hip. Perhaps there are subtler sensations elsewhere in the body. Last breath here. Then again, take your transition back to downward facing dog. So move back at your own pace. And this time from our downward dog, we're going to come to a seated position. So come all the way down to the floor or all the way through to the floor, however you like to make that transition. We're going to bring both legs out in front of the body. You might want to sit up on some height again. I'm going to take a block underneath the sit bones. And then from there, we'll take a bend into the right knee. And once we've bent the right knee, we roll to the little toe edge of the foot. Now, if the knee doesn't travel all the way down to the floor, again, props can be helpful. We want to give ourselves the opportunity to create a little bit of downward pressure with the outer thigh into the block. So we're not feeling too kind of lifted by that prop. Once we've set the position with the legs, with the props, pull back on the fingertips, hinge at the hips, and just draw forwards into that fold position. We'll draw our way up. Let's switch out the legs from there. So right leg goes long, we'll take the bend into the left knee. Let's roll to the outer edge of that foot. And again, prop as required underneath that left thigh. Fingertips draw back, a little extension through the spine, and then we fold forwards again. Okay, let's find our way up from there again. Left leg goes long. Now, we're going to take another seated pose from here. There are two options. Option one is we can move into half lotus. I'll talk through that option in a moment. If you don't want to take half lotus, step the right foot flat, and we'll keep the right foot flat this time. So as we fold forwards, that will work the hip in a slightly different way. If you do want to explore the half lotus, we're going to hold underneath the shin and underneath the outer edge of the foot. So as we bring the foot towards the body, excuse me, we're opening through that knee joint rather than rolling the shin bone in and closing out that inner knee joint. So from this position, we'll begin to take the right knee out to the side, bringing the heel towards the belly button. And then from there, we can bring the right foot over towards that left hip crease. Okay, so once the foot's set in position, if the knee's not dropping down towards the floor, you can hold the knee with the right hand to support that knee. And you might want to sit upright here. If the knee is releasing down towards the floor, we can take that hinge forwards again at the hips, either bringing the hands towards the left foot or to the floor. If you want to bring the right arm around to catch the right foot, that's an option too. Just try not to roll the shoulder forward. So right shoulder rolling back as we take that hinge position. And if there is any discomfort here in the knee or in the ankle, then we can reverse our way up, come back to Janu, or as I say, take Marichyasana with the right foot flat to the floor, which will give ourselves just a little different way of working into the hips. Okay, let's draw up and we'll switch out the legs from there. So right leg goes long. Again, either step the left foot flat or we point the left foot, we catch under the shin, underneath the foot. As the left knee draws wide, we'll bring the heel towards the belly button and then swing the foot over towards that inner right hip crease. If the knee is high, hold, support. Otherwise, if the knee releases down, we can start to take that forward fold position from there. And if it feels accessible, again, we can reach around to catch the left toes, but keep that left shoulder squeezing back. So as we take these half lotus poses, we really want the foot to be active and strong. I'm actively pointing my toes, pointing my foot, sorry, and I'm also curling my toes slightly towards that right thigh. Okay, let's come up again. We can release the left leg, and then from here, we'll pop off of the blocks. Let's come back into downward facing dog. So make that transition however you wish. Spin the legs to the side. Come over the shins if that works better for you. Back into downward dog. And then from downward dog, we'll travel forwards to standing fold again. So find your way forwards. Find your way up. And then once you've come into mountain pose, we're going to take a couple of standing balances. So toes are spreading. First pose, first standing balance, we'll take one leg chair and we'll fold from there. So just like thread the needle, right shin across the left thigh, right foot is active. I'll draw that right knee back in space. Hands can come together as I start to soften the left knee, hips drawing back. I'm going to reach down towards the floor or onto some props. I'm taking a forward fold variation. So this right leg is in kind of a figure four position. If the floor or the props feel too far away, we don't have to reach all the way down. We can just kind of rest the hands onto the right ankle and knee instead. Okay, let's start to reverse. So soften the left knee, press down through the left foot. We'll draw our way up. Right foot steps down. We'll take that balance around to the second side. So we're crossing the left shin over, figure four position. Once you've found that figure four, left knee drawing back, right knee softens. I'm hinging at the hips, so I'm drawing my sit bones back. Again, I can rest here, or I can continue to reach for the floor or down onto some props. And again, let's begin to roll our way up from there. Take a nice steady transition up, and then we'll set that left foot down onto the mat. So one more standing balance. As always, a couple of options for you. Option one is to take another round of that last pose, so the figure 4 position, the thread the needle position. Option 2 will be half lotus, which again we'll talk through in a moment. Option 3, if you don't fancy half lotus, but you want to try something a little different, you can always take a tree pose position and see how a forward fold with tree pose works. Quite tricky actually, so we just reach down to catch hold of the left knee or the left shin and calf muscle. So they're the options. If you want to work into that lotus pose, I'm going to mirror. We'll take the right leg, so again, rotate the knee out, point the foot, catch underneath the shin, underneath the foot. We draw the knee out to the side, we bring the heel towards the belly button, rolling the front shin down towards the floor, and then from there we bring the foot over to the opposite hip crease. Now once it's in position, you can bring the hand around to the top of the foot. Invite the knee to release down. Again, if the knee doesn't release all the way to the floor, if it's kind of up here, just hold here. Otherwise, if the knee starts to roll down to face the surface, the floor, we can begin that fold. Soften the left knee, reach down towards the mat. And as we did in the seated variation, we can stay here, or we can bring the right arm all the way back behind us, catching hold of the right foot, shoulder rolling back rather than rolling down towards the floor. Okay, let's find our way up. Set the right foot down. And then we'll take whichever option you want to take second side. So thread the needle, tree pose fold, or we'll take that half lotus position again. Knee turns out, foot is pointing, we catch underneath the shin, we draw the knee wide, heel to belly button, then we bring the foot over to opposite hip crease. If the knee drops down towards the floor, we begin to fold. If not, if we're up here, we can just hold this position. If we're folding, take that nice steady transition down. And then as an option, we can reach around to catch hold of the foot. And again, let's start to make that transition back. Find your way to mountain. Once you've found your mountain pose, we're going to take one last sun salutation movement. So reaching up, folding our way forwards, coming back into downward dog at your own pace. And then from downward dog, let's return to a seated position once again. So come all the way through or all the way down. And this time, once we come through to a seated position, we're going to set up for double pigeon, sometimes called fire log pose. So again, I'll mirror you. First round, we'll be taking the right shin on top of the left shin. So right foot on the left knee, right knee on the left ankle. Now, if like me, there's a little bit of a gap here, this is where props can come in helpful. We can take props between the knee and the ankle. We can also prop underneath this knee if that feels that the knee doesn't want to come all the way down to the floor. My shins are more or less parallel to the top edge of the mat. Now, if even with the props, this doesn't feel comfortable at all, take a regular cross-legged fold instead. Right shin in front of left, and we draw forwards from there. If we are taking the double pigeon, as we've been doing throughout the practice, we keep this right ankle really active. So strong engagement through the ankle, and then we take that forward fold position. And then let's come up and switch out the legs. So this time we're taking the left leg on top. Again, shin bones more or less parallel. We can prop as required into the pose. Keep this left ankle fully active. And once we've positioned the legs in a way that works, either the double pigeon or the regular Sukhasana, left leg in front of right leg, again, we can take a fold from there. Doesn't need to be a deep fold. Personally, what I like to do here is just rest my elbows on the top ankle and knee. It might feel more or less accessible one side than the other. Okay, let's find our way up again. Release the legs for a moment. We're going to take one last cross-legged seated pose. Again, there will be options. So this is where we're going to look at a variation on our lotus pose. So I'll mirror it again, various options we can take. Option one will be like a half lotus pose. So just as we've been doing, we hold underneath the right shin, we draw the knee out, and then we bring the heel to the belly button before we bring the right foot to the left hip crease. If that doesn't feel comfortable, you can bring the top of the foot to the little crook of the leg instead. If from here you want to take full lotus, we do the same thing with the opposite leg, with the second leg. So we bring that top leg into position as well. Ankles, so I'm strongly pointing the ankles, I'm curling my toes towards the tops of the thighs. So that's my lotus pose. If lotus or half lotus don't feel good, then any other variation on this cross-legged position. Maybe for just a little bit of variation, you take something like a cow pose, or you can stay with an ordinary cross-legged fold instead. So whichever version of this pose works for you. And then once you've set the legs, we'll come back into that fold position. So not forcing the knees, not forcing the legs in any way. We want to make sure that we bring one leg at a time really mindfully. And as we were discussing a little earlier, we're rolling the leg in towards the body. So the front shin is rolling down to the floor. So I'm keeping this inner knee joint nice and open rather than that kind of squishing up, closing everything up through those inner knees. Okay, let's draw up. If you want a little challenge into the pose, just for a moment, you might lift, even if it's just the sit bones, not the legs as well. And then down we come, and we're going to switch out the pose from there. So again, if we're working a lotus or a half lotus, we bring that left leg in first. The foot is pointed, take the knee out, roll the back of the shin towards the body, and then bring the foot over towards that right hip crease. Stay there, or second leg, we do the same thing. Make sure the ankles are pointing, that the tops of the feet are actively drawing into the tops of the thighs. We can stay here, or we can take that forward fold again. That's it, nice and steady. Once again, it might feel very different one side of the body to the other. And once again, from here, let's draw our way up. If you want to take the little lift, press the floor away with the hands, draw the shoulders down the body, lift just for a moment. And then as we release, let's just set any comfortable seated position for a moment. So you can release the lotus if you wish, take the legs into a position that feels comfortable. And then just for half a minute or so, we'll sit. Maybe bring the eyes closed. Allow the body to feel upright but relaxed at the same time. And again, from there, we can tune into that inner experience of practice. And then carrying that awareness with you as you begin to release down onto your back for your final resting pose. So all blocks can move to one side now. Let's ease our way down. And once you're down onto the back, again, you position the body in a way that feels comfortable, long through the back of the neck. And then we allow the body to be fully held by the floor.